Rain tapped steady on the rusted tin roof of May Keller's trailer. Same as it had for 3 days now. The kind that soaked bone. The kind that made roads disappear into mud. She didn't hear the dog at first, not until the second night, when the barking started, low, insistent, coming from the woods behind the old quarry road. May hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks. She thought it was just a stray, until the dog returned, eyes wide, muzzle soaked, leading her into the storm, to something she'd never forget. Stay close. This story stays with you. May Keller paused beneath the skeletal frame of an abandoned barn, the windows gaping like empty sockets in the moonless night. Rain dripped from a corrugated tin above her, catching on the rim of the brimmed hat she wore. She pressed her soaked jacket closer, breath shallow, ears straining for the rasp of the dog's breathing or another echo from the dark forest. That dog, scruffy, gray-furred with intelligence in its eyes, had appeared 2 nights ago, pacing at the edge of the clearing. May had shooed away with a shaky hand, expecting it to vanish. Yet here it was again and again. She had hoped it was frightened, weak, one of many stray K9s roaming the rural outskirts. She left food on her porch quietly. Tonight, the dog came close enough to lap it up, eyes wary, and then led her. He moved like he had intent, turning back to look at her between each step, waiting. Now May followed him into the blur of rain and darkness. Through intermittent headlights of her old truck parked near the barn, she saw he paused at the edge of a depression in the ground. A circular metal grate lay half covered in mud and leaves. The dog sniffed at it, whining softly. May's heart pounded. Something inside her clenched. She knelt, blinking through stinging rain, and pried at the grate's edge with trembling fingers. A low, muffled cry echoed upward. Her breath caught. It sounded human, but faint, like a child's whimpering muffled beneath the earth. The dog froze beside her, tail low, his fur soaked and muddy. He looked up at May, eyes clear and imploring. She pulled back, hands slick on metal. Mam's warning from childhood, the old tales of tunnels and trapdoors, flared in her mind. She glanced into the darkness beneath the grate. Nothing visible except wet soil and a jagged shaft with beams descending into blackness. The cry came again, this time closer, more urgent, tear-roughened, resentful. Unexpected tears pricked May's eyes. The sound broke something in her. She didn't know why she cared so deeply, why she felt responsibility for that invisible voice, but she did. She reached into her pocket, trembling fingers finding her phone. No signal. She sucked in air. She looked at the dog. He's done this before, she thought. There's a reason. Are you leading me? A distant light flickered deeper in the pit. May hesitated. Then she lifted one grubby wooden plank and heard breathing. Human breathing. And the dog whined, pacing, pawing at her leg. She pulled free a beam and peered down. A pair of unseeing eyes stared back. The mouth parted, wet, lips cracked. The whimpers turned to sobs. May dragged out ally an old coil of rope from her pack, knotting a slip noose. She whispered, voice hushed, "I'm coming." The dog whimpered and eased closer, his head near her hand. Then she climbed down. Cold clay stuck to her boots. The shaft widened into a crumbling tunnel, maybe 6 feet across. She could see the outline of a young woman, sitting pressed against a far wall, knees drawn. Her eyes glistened wet. She rocked slowly, hands curled in her lap. May froze there, dripping rain mixing with dirt on the dusty floor. "Hey, it's okay. I'm here," May said softly. The woman looked up, face bruised, eyes tired beyond her years. Both shook. May held the rope, anchored above. Ready? The dog circled behind, tail twitching. "Why are you crying?" May asked. The woman's gaze flickered to the dog. "Is he saving me?" she rasped. May swallowed. "He led me. I didn't bring him." Suspicion and relief warred in the young woman's eyes. "Help me, please," she spoke. May reached out with trembling hands. "I will." She motioned the dog to step back. He obeyed, his posture alert. May tied the noose around a beam overhead, slipping it beneath the woman's chest. 1, 2, she pulled gently, then hard, lifting her until May could brace behind her. They inched upward through mud, pain etched in the woman's face. May steadied her, breathing shallow as she descended. Above, the rain muted everything. Shadows of brokenwood rattled. May braced her knees through grit. The tunnel shook faintly, as if someone or something moved above. Then came a heavy footfall. Above them, did dust shift? May froze, no breath. The woman stilled. The dog growled, low, loud. May felt fury, fear, something like betrayal, bloom. A second step, measured, deliberate. May mouthed a silent prayer. The grate above rattled. Something weighed down on it. May tugged hard. They rose, inch by inch. This was no accident. Someone had sealed that grate on purpose. Then a voice from above, harsh and male. Who's down there? May stiffened, voice dry. May Keller. She's with me. The dog barked once. Silence. Then footsteps retreated. Footfalls retreated slowly into rain. May waited until the silence swallowed all echoes. She hauled the woman out. The grate popped free. Mud spattered. May and the dog dragged him into the open clearing. Dawn light slid across wooded shapes. Rain eased the drizzle. The rescued woman collapsed into May's arms. The dog sat beside her, head lowered. May rubbed water from her face. Heart choking. Trust shattered inside her. Trust the world would stay quiet. Trust the dog was just stray. The dog shook off water, mud, then looked at May with something like apology. May cracked a weary smile. "You're not just lost, are you?" she murmured. The woman's lips part, and May heard a whisper. "Thank you, May." The dog whuffed softly. She looked out across the muddy clearing. Forest silhouettes, feeling the weight of questions. Who put her there? Why lead her, the dog? And could she trust anyone in town now? The old isolation felt heavier, echoing. The calm of her remote world had shattered. She nodded slowly, voice low. "We find out together." The woman's name was Elise. She whispered it after they'd reached the trailer. Wrapped in one of May's old quilts, her body trembling not just from cold, but from whatever had happened beneath that ground. Her voice was hoarse, lips cracked, and her eyes, they didn't blink like a normal person's. They scanned, calculated, as if expecting someone else to step through the door, as if running was still an option. May set a steaming mug of tea on the table and slid it toward her. The dog sat by the screen door, gaze fixed on the tree line. "Where are you from?" May asked softly, kneeling beside her. Elise didn't speak. Her fingers fidgeted with a small silver chain looped around her thumb. No pendant, just chain. Her eyes flicked up. "Why did you come?" she whispered. May frowned. "The dog brought me." Elise blinked, confusion flickering. "You don't know him?" May shook her head. "I thought he was a stray, but he came back again and again. He led me to you." Elise looked at the dog, then back at May. "That's not a stray." A silence hung between them. May leaned forward, resting on her knees. "You were in a tunnel, buried. Someone put that grate on. Who did it?" Elise said nothing. Rain pattered the window. The dog didn't move, only growled low in his throat. May's voice darkened. "Look, I don't have answers, but I think you do." Elise finally met her eyes. "I ran," she said softly. "I ran 3 weeks ago, from a house near North Hollow. He kept me there. Said no one would care." May stiffened. North Hollow was barely 10 miles out, an old stretch of land no one drove unless they had reason to. Only one home stood out there, the Cromer place. It used to belong to the sheriff's brother, abandoned for years after a fire, until someone moved back in. May swallowed. "Who's he?" Elise didn't answer, but her eyes drifted toward the window, toward the woods. The silence dragged. Then Elise whispered, "He's not done." May rubbed her face. Her bones ached. Every instinct said to call the police, but her gut said something different. The dog growled again, and this time May felt it deep in her stomach. She rose and stepped onto the porch. The woods were too quiet, the air too still. The dog stood suddenly, hackles raised. May followed his gaze. Headlights in the trees, faint, silent, watching. They snapped off. May backed into the house, heart slamming in her chest. "Get in the back," she told Elise. Now. Elise obeyed. May locked the door, grabbed the old shotgun from behind the fridge. It hadn't been fired in 6 years, but it would still make a sound loud enough to be respected. The dog let out a single bark. Sharp. Warning. May flicked the light switch off. The trailer went dark. She crouched low beside the window and watched. A figure stepped out of the tree line. Tall. Hooded. He walked slow. Casual. He knew. He'd seen the dog. Knew May had followed him. Knew she'd found her. May stayed still, barrel steady, breathing shallow. The man stopped at the tree line. Stared. Then he turned and walked away. No rush. No panic. Just quiet confidence. May shut the door and locked it again, her hands trembling. In the back room, Elise was curled in the corner of May's storage room, holding the chain tight in her fist. Her eyes gleamed in the dark. Was that him? May asked. Elise nodded once. May set the gun beside her on the floor and sank down. This man, she whispered. He took you, held you, then buried you alive? No. Elise's voice was so soft May had to lean close. He didn't bury me, Elise said. He made someone else do it. May blinked. What do you mean? Elise's eyes met hers. Cold, calm, quiet. He has help. The next morning brought a rare break in the clouds. Mist clung to the fields. The K-9 sat at the edge of May's porch, head low, watching the road. May sat beside him with a stale mug of coffee and half a cigarette. She hadn't smoked in years, but her nerves were thin. Sleep had been useless. Elise hadn't spoken again. She just stared out the window, holding the chain. May hadn't asked what was missing from it. The K-9, May was calling him Scout now, suddenly stood and growled again. Low, deep, then, to her surprise, he took off, into the trees. Fast. May stood, heart jumping. Scout, she called. But he didn't slow. Elise stepped out behind her. He's not running, she said. May turned. Then what's he doing? Tracking. May stared at the tree line. What is he? Elise didn't answer. Just turned back inside. May cursed under her breath, grabbed her coat, and followed the path Scout had taken. The trees swallowed her quick. Pine needles soaked her jeans. She stumbled down a familiar trail that led toward the creek behind the quarry. She hadn't walked this far in years, not since her brother disappeared here. Scout was standing still up ahead, body rigid. May followed his eyes and froze. There was a car half sunken into the creek, mud piled up over the tires, vines growing over the roof. Not rusted yet, still fresh. May approached slow. The plates were gone, doors unlocked. Inside was a single item, a shoe, small, child-sized, pink, caked in dried blood. May backed away. Scout growled. Then the air changed, a click behind her. May froze. She turned. It was Sheriff Dalton. Her stomach dropped. His smile was wrong. You followed the dog, he said, voice calm. May said nothing. Dalton sighed. You shouldn't have done that. She looked at the gun on his hip. Scout barked, once loud, but didn't move. Dalton's eyes narrowed. He's been doing this a while, hasn't he? Bringing people to places they shouldn't see. May's voice was barely a whisper. He's not your dog, is he? Dalton gave a bitter laugh. Was. Once. Before he figured out what I was. May's chest tightened. He stepped closer. And in that moment, Scout lunged. Dalton fired. Missed. May hit the ground. Scout slammed into him, teeth sinking in. May scrambled up, grabbed a branch, and struck hard. Dalton fell. Scout stood over him, snarling. May's breath heaved. Her hands shook. Dalton coughed. It's bigger than me. May kicked the gun away. Then start naming names. Dalton laughed through blood. You think you can stop it? May leaned close. Try me. May tied Dalton's wrist with her brother's old tow rope, one of the few things she'd never thrown out. She dragged him through wet brush with Scout walking beside her, blood on his teeth, eyes alert. The sheriff cursed and spat through broken lips. But he didn't fight back much. Not yet. Back at the trailer, Elise stood in the doorway. She didn't move, didn't speak. When she saw Dalton, something inside her broke. Her knees buckled. May caught her. Was it him? May asked, voice flat. Elise nodded. He sold us, she whispered. Us. There were others. May stared at Dalton. His eyes were closed now, pretending sleep. She shook him. How many? He gave a crooked smile. You won't believe me. May lifted the shotgun barrel an inch from his chest. Try me? He stared at her, long and steady. Then finally he said the name, Ruth and Miller. May's stomach dropped. That name hadn't been said out loud in this town in years. She was 15, Dalton said. Ran off after prom. Or so they thought. You remember? May remembered. May remembered the pink flyer in the window of the hardware store. The candlelight vigil. The way Ruth's father drank himself near death a year later. They never found her. They didn't want to, Dalton said, eyes half-lidded. Whole town's got ghosts, Keller. You just weren't supposed to find them. May stepped back. She felt her legs shake. How many? She asked again. Dalton didn't answer. So Scout bit his shoulder, quick, just enough to make him scream. 13, Dalton rasped. At least. Since 2009. Not all by me. Some before me. Some after. May's world spun. Elise stepped forward. Where? Dalton didn't look at her. Where? She shouted. He looked up at May. You'll have to dig. And then he laughed. May's vision blurred. She turned the gun sideways. Elise grabbed her arm. No, we need him. We need proof. May lowered it slowly. He said, we? There are others. Elise looked at Dalton. Tell us. But Dalton just smiled. May stepped inside, grabbed her car keys. We need to go. Elise hesitated. Go where? To his house. Why? Because there's a reason Scout led me to you. A reason Dalton followed. There's something there. Elise's fingers tightened on the chain. May looked at her. What was on that necklace? Elise met her gaze. Her voice was soft. My sister's name. May blinked. Where is she? Elise's eyes filled. I don't know. The Cromer house sat like a dying tooth on the edge of the woods. Gray boards, roof sagging, front porch slanted. But the lock was new. The windows reinforced. They stood outside in silence, mist curling through trees. Scout sat at the base of the porch, unmoving. May looked at Elise. Stay here if you want. Elise followed her up. Inside, the house smelled of bleach and wood rot. The living room was empty, but there was a basement door and a key in Dalton's pocket. May turned it. The lock clicked. A groan of stairs. A whisper of damp air. May flipped the switch. Light buzzed on. The basement was empty, except for the filing cabinet. Scout growled as they approached it. May opened the drawers. Inside, folders, each with a name. Ruth and Miller, Christine Hale, Nadia Walsh, 12 total, each one labeled with a date, a location, a photograph. May's hands trembled. Elise pulled one out. Hers, her picture, her birthday, her weight, a note, transferred from HoloSite, confirmed compatible. Notify Harrow. May looked at her. Harrow. Elise's face went pale. He ran the shelter, she whispered, where I first stayed. May turned the folder over. A second sheet. It listed 3 other names. One crossed out. Runners. Elise said, the ones who tried to get away. Scout barked once. Loud. Sharp. May froze. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Above them. Someone was in the house. May grabbed the shotgun. Scout moved to the base of the stairs, posture rigid. Then a voice called down. Put it down, May. You don't know what you're in. It wasn't Dalton. It was Deputy Markson. May's voice cracked. You're a part of this? Markson sighed. You think it ends with Dalton? May raised the shotgun. Get out. You won't shoot. He was right. She couldn't, but Scout could. In one blur of motion, the K-9 lunged up the stairs. Gunfire erupted. May pulled Elise behind a stack of crates. She waited. The silence that followed was thick and ugly. Then Scout limped down, blood on his side, but alive, and Markson wasn't. May knelt beside him. You saved us again. Scout licked her hand, and then did something strange. He padded to the back of the room, and stopped at the wall. Scratched it. Once. Twice. May stepped forward and pressed her ear to the wood. Silence. Then, a faint sob. Elise heard it too. May grabbed a crowbar from the crate, pried the boards. Behind them, a hidden room, bare concrete, dim bulb swinging, and two girls, alive, chained, eyes wide with terror. May dropped to her knees. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now." Elise stepped into the room and gasped. "Lena," she whispered. One of the girls looked up and broke into sobs. It was her sister. It took 3 days before the state troopers arrived. Dalton was in custody. Markson dead. The Cromer house was taped off, swarming with evidence teams. They found 3 more shallow graves in the woods behind May's trailer. One matched Ruth and Miller. Elise was taken to a safe facility. Lena stayed by her side. They refused to be separated. May sat on the porch every morning after, Scout by her feet. She turned down interviews. She didn't want attention, just peace. One afternoon, Elise came back. She handed May the silver chain. "This belongs to someone who listens," she said. May smiled. Scout rested his head in her lap. "What will you do now?" Elise asked. May looked out at the woods and whispered, "Whatever he shows me next." The wind whispered through the trees behind May's land. Scout watched the horizon, ears perked. Somewhere beyond the hills, past a stretch of rusted wire and forgotten paths, secrets still slept. May sat quietly, sipping cold coffee, her boots in the mud, the chain in her hand. She no longer believed in accidents. Not after Scout. Some dogs are lost. Some are abandoned. But some are sent. And when they bark at your door, sometimes you don't find the lost. Sometimes you find yourself.